Welcome back to Blurred Summits. Today we're going to be talking about 7 tips to get the most out of any day. So Abdul, let's run right into this. What is the first tip here?
So tip number 1, it's that know what the bigger goal is with your life. Okay. Or particularly the bigger goal of the task that you plan on doing. The reason being is that sometimes it's if we're working during the day and we don't know what the end goal is, then the work feels meaningless.
So it kind of adds value to what you're doing. And
exactly.
It gives you a purpose to move on with each day.
It gives you a purpose, and if you have meaning and if you have purpose, then you can be more motivated to do the task, and you don't have to drag yourself through it as much.
And you'll feel, I guess, a bit more self-fulfilled as well, right?
Exactly. So it's like when we look at our day, let's say you need to work out.
Yeah.
If you don't have an end goal for the training, then it's going to be so much harder for you to continue just off the idea that, okay, I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it. But if you know that I'm going to do it for 90 days, 100 days, and at the end of the 100 days, it's my goal, right? To be at this weight or to be able to bench press this much or to do this, run this far, then that helps you to stay motivated in the moment and realize that the work that I'm putting in today is important to the end goal, despite me maybe not seeing results immediately.
Yeah, well, I think working out, it might be a bit different. But like with working out, I don't know if putting a number, like a date on the end thing is the best thing, but obviously you want to put those goals, right? Like the workout goals. Mm-hmm. But saying, hey, 100 days, it's hard to say what 100 days is, right? Because in theory, you don't really need that motivation after the first 30 with working out at least.
Yeah, you'll need less motivation as time goes on, for sure.
Well, yeah, with working out at least, like the motivation in itself is the pump, is the working out. Once you get going, once you get used to it.
Yeah, once you get going.
Once you're about a month in, then the thing that really keeps you going is the wanting to work out as opposed to the needing to work out for X goal. But obviously you do need goals.
Like I've been working out for a minute, and I always needed the purpose behind my working out, which for me personally was just a matter of discipline. Like, you know, but I think it's useful for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I think it's just a matter of routine after a certain amount of time. Like, give it the 3 weeks. I found, like, first couple weeks it's tough. So having that goal gets you into the door. Then once you get the door open, then you're fine. Mm-hmm. Then you can find other purposes. I guess you don't necessarily need to have the same one purpose every day you walk into the gym or each day you wake up. That thing can evolve in like the gym, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
and the meaning behind it can change as well.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of people, they begin into the gym for a particular reason. In the end, they find a passion for it, and that's what keeps them going. They find a community in it, and that's what keeps them going. Mm-hmm. So the meaning behind the things can change. But if you want to leverage your day, then that is really useful. Tip number 2 is to wake up at the same time every day. And this is important. A lot of people say, wake up super early, right? A lot of people say, you know, wake up at this time, do this. That's not important. The time that you wake up isn't important. You can wake up at 10 a.m. if you want. You know, a lot of people don't recommend it, but maybe you're just the kind of person who's a night owl and you prefer to sleep in. That's okay. But make sure that whatever time you decide you're going to wake up, that it's the same time all the time.
And why is that?
And the reason behind that is because your circadian rhythm, the thing that gives you balance in your life, syncs up. It takes a while for it to sync up.
Well, it's because it's technically on a 25-hour period. It's a bit longer than what a day is. Learned that in psychology back in the day.
If left to it, it's if it doesn't have any cues.
Well, naturally it's 25 hours.
Yeah,
so you need to train it to tighten it up to whatever you choose to be.
Yeah, and the circadian rhythm changes and it syncs up to different patterns, right? So if you're waking up at a different time every single day, that jacks up your circadian rhythm because your body can't differentiate when is it time for bed, when is it time to be awake, when should I give my body energy, when should I conserve energy. It's very hard for it to learn those things. Mm-hmm. But if you wake up at the same time every day, then it aligns that. And aligning your circadian rhythm is so important. There's like studies that show that something as little as messing up your circadian rhythm can put people into deep bouts of depression and anxiety.
Is it just because then they're tired and they don't have energy?
Because
at the right times at least.
No, because the body sees that as a stress response, sees it as there's an abnormality in my life. Like there's something going wrong.
Yeah.
Right? That's why your circadian rhythm starts ringing. It's because, like, wait a second, if I'm waking up at different times every day, why? Well, what's going wrong in my environment that I can't be consistent? What's happening right now?
Yeah.
So align that circadian rhythm. The easiest way to do it is to wake up early. Wake up at the same time every day.
And go to the bed at the same time as well, obviously. Those two.
Right. Both. Yes. You can't just sacrifice, like, you want to make sure that you're getting enough sleep as well. Absolutely. Tip number 3, it's to eat a really big breakfast. To eat a big breakfast, but to eat a big breakfast that is super high in fat and super high in protein.
Good fats.
Yeah. And protein, and to minimize carbs and sugars in your breakfast. So this is interesting because, especially in our culture, it's very common to have a very high sugar, high carb breakfast.
High sugar.
Right? High sugar. Cereals,
okay.
massively high sugar.
I was thinking like toast. That's high carb, but not like where's it? I was thinking avocado toast. I'm like, there's no sugar in avocado toast.
So cereal, it's a terrible thing to eat for breakfast. It's not the worst thing in the world, but
it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, especially if you're eating like Fruit Loops or something, because, and there's a good reason for this. It's that when you wake up, if the first thing that you're putting into your body are high amounts of sugar, you're going to jack up your blood glucose levels or your blood sugar levels. This is going to cause your body to pump out a ton of insulin to compensate for that, right? And once it does that, that's very stressful on the body to do. So the second that your glucose levels drop down a little bit, which they do very quickly with sugars, right? Sugar, you get a very quick high and a very quick low.
Yeah.
Once you hit that low, your body is now super stressed out, releasing that stored up sugar that it just spent all this time storing up. Yeah. So it's this very terrible cycle to put your body through at the beginning of the day.
So then you want to eat things like, so you'd eat eggs, bacon, because that's high fat. What else would there be?
High fat. Avocado is really high fat.
Eggs, bacon, avocado. What else is
yogurt there? Is pretty decently high fat as well.
But there's usually lots of sugar in yogurt.
Yeah. You would probably have to be careful with some of the yogurts that you're buying.
Like, unless you go like high fat, like a Greek yogurt. I think that's really the only way.
Greek yogurt.
Like any of the classic American yogurt, it's just packed full of sugar.
Oh, the strawberry yogurt, like those.
Like you just have to go
tubs.
natural. Like I've never found yogurt good, but like you have to go like just the classic Greek yogurt, which is super dense, heavy, calorie dense, but high in fats.
Exactly.
I think I've heard it's like you want to have a super calorie dense meal as well, like calorie density where you fill up with less proteins, I guess, I think is what it is. Or less calories. So like hard-boiled eggs are amazing in calorie density.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Because they're super heavy, but there's not much calories in it, so it fills you up.
Like there's not a lot of carbs in it, you mean?
There's something where it's like you want things that are nice and dense.
Oh, I'm not too sure about that. I haven't heard that before, but maybe.
Well, I know there's a reason like that. That's why hard-boiled eggs are better than fried eggs.
Right.
Better than those other types of eggs, scrambled eggs.
Yeah. And so fat and protein, they give you energy, but the energy is not as high as sugar. So yes, you're not going to be feeling as energetic as your cereal breakfast, but that energy is spread out over a longer period of time. So it's a lot more sustainable for your day. Maybe you'll have to start eating your lunch a little bit earlier because you're going to get hungry quicker, but that's totally okay because your energy levels throughout the day won't be highs and lows and ups and crashes and that kind of stuff. So high fat, high protein breakfast is essential to capitalizing on the day.
That's good to know.
Yes, sir. Next tip is to implement physical activity. So a lot of people, I feel, I don't know, this is just my personal feeling, but I anticipate that one of the reasons why a lot of people don't do a lot of fitness things because it seems too burdensome, right?
Sure.
Like they know that they should do it, they want to do it, but I don't have enough time, like I don't have a workout plan, I don't know how to work out, I don't know what to do. So we'll keep it real simple. Do any activity that's going to get your heart pumping, You know, if you're sweating, it's going to get you sweating, right? Do that for 30 minutes a day, or, you know, at least 30 minutes a day. Maybe you can spread out those 30 minutes across 2 15-minute periods, in the morning and night. This can be a walk if you're super lazy, you know.
Or do a speed walk.
I like a speed walk. Like maybe you're really unhealthy, so a walk is going to be enough for you. Maybe a run, bike, elliptical. You could play a sport.
Anything.
Any sort of activity, as long as it gets your heart rate up and it gets your sweat happening. Like if you're sweating, that's
just
big indicator.
You could just
there you go.
Do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, do some squats for 30 minutes straight. Just kind of work through something like that for 30 minutes.
Right? And so the reason that we say this is that you don't necessarily need to do strength training. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to go and do the bench press and the dumbbell curls and that kind of stuff. If you want bigger muscles, you have to do that. But if you don't want bigger muscles and you're just trying to, as this episode says, capitalize on your day, then the heart is where all the sauce is.
Well, it seems quite counterintuitive, but through working out and getting tired, it gives you more energy.
Yeah.
It's really weird how it works like that. And plus, it goes back to the other one with the good sleep, because if you're not working out, it's going to be hard to go to bed if your body's not tired. Mm-hmm. So if you work out, your body will have to go rest, right? So you'll be able to go to bed easier and wake up and keep going with that.
Yeah. And the other thing with working out too is that, like, why does working out give us these benefits? Why does it seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
It's because working out, especially when you're doing the blood pumping workouts where, you know, you're sweating, you're moving, you're alive, right? Those workouts release a lot of hormones that are very pleasurable, right? So they release a lot of endorphins, they release a lot of dopamine during the workout, this kind of stuff. It even capitalizes on testosterone levels in men, which helps to give them more energy as well. Mm-hmm. So that kind of activity is super useful for translating to different parts of our life, like you said.
Well, plus doesn't it also kind of, when you sweat out a lot of toxins as well, right? You clear it.
Yeah,
you clear out some of the bad stuff in your
probably
body.
Clear out, especially if you have a really high salt diet. I'm sure you sweat out a lot of those salts. Yeah, true.
Were you laughing about yourself when you said that?
No. Like high salt diets are just funny because this was something I learned in my nutrition class in America, particularly, or North America, so us included in Canada, is our diets are capitalized by extremely high sodium and high salt levels. Mm-hmm. And this is actually counterintuitive to the way that our bodies are naturally built. Why? Because salt and sodium are very difficult to find in the natural environment. Mm-hmm. So our bodies were created to conserve sodium and salt.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when we artificially consume a ton of sodium and salts, our body is storing them extra because normally it's hard to get.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But anyways, that was a bit of a side note. Next tip is don't always be available, right? If you really want to make good use of your day, then you can't always be available to a bunch of different things. This means don't always be available on your phone. Like if somebody messages you, don't feel like you have to reply. Or a lot of people say this with working online, is that they feel like they have to be available 24/7, right? Yeah. That when somebody sends them an email, I need to reply within the hour to that email.
Well, I know with a lot of things with work and stuff, you can schedule in, I mean, at least through like Microsoft, blocks in just put in your schedule this time to do this thing. So therefore, like, say you have to do some studying for school, right? Put in your schedule, like, you love a good schedule. Put in your schedule this block studying. Don't do anything else but studying during that block. So then even if you get a text, have your phone on Do Not Disturb so you don't know. If you need to study, put the block in. Working out, same thing. Eating dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that's not a bad time to catch up on emails, depending on your
dinner.
Or if you want to read or whatever you do, put a block in there. Even if it is check emails, put a block in your thing that says check emails so you can catch up on that.
And this is something that I heard Joe Rogan say one time. He says he never checks his emails except for twice a day, once in the morning and once at night.
I mean, he is kind of a different...
Right? No, but like consider, like he has this big business. He definitely could, if he wanted to, be on his email all day replying to
he has a
emails.
lot of people doing stuff for him though too, right?
He still has to do a lot of work, you know? It's not like everyone's doing everything for him, right? Like he had to get to his position somehow.
Yeah, but clearly in his position, if it's different if you have a lot of time-sensitive emails you need to get back to.
Yeah.
But if you're not, then you can do that sort of thing where you only check it twice a day.
Right? Like there's definitely people out there who are in positions of like authority, I guess, or high skill jobs like his, where he's kind of where they're like the boss or whatever, but they're on their email all day.
But see, I think that there's only select people that can do the 2 email checking it twice a day. I don't think that's really that manageable.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, because what do you think he's working? What's he doing in the middle of the day? Is he doing his actual work for that podcast? Is that what you're referencing?
Probably not. Yeah.
Like then why would he?
Or maybe he said this. He didn't really specify, but maybe it's for like all his different businesses. Right.
If you have or maybe that I bet that's just personal emails. Like how can you go? I don't see that one. The twice a day. I don't ever see that.
Like this is the thing, right? It's that everything you can do whatever you want if you decide you're gonna do it. Right. Like if a person, like for example, there's a ton of people who decide it is very important for me to have a really nice breakfast and relax in my mornings. So they say, screw you world, screw you job, I'm going to have a nice breakfast. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to look at my phone till 10 a.m. And
I don't know any of those people.
And the world needs to deal with it.
I've never heard of those people who do that. Or
there's
it's like not
plenty of people. There's tons of people, right? And the way is, it's that maybe right when you're starting out, maybe when you're in our positions, right? You're just starting out, it's hard to do that. But after a certain point, if it's a priority in your life, you're gonna do it, right?
Sure.
And so if you do it, then the world adapts around it, right? I think it's kind of a lie to tell ourselves that, because otherwise we're trapped, right? What do you say? If I can't decide exactly what I want to do, then aren't I a slave to my work?
Yeah, I'm confused where this is going, but sure. Well, if you're at work, you should be, in theory, checking your emails unless you're in meetings. Like I get, like probably the reason why he doesn't do that is because he's in meetings all day. He says, okay, in the morning and evening, I have some other things I need to do between that. So morning, afternoon, emails. He's not probably, like, if he's sitting at his desk for 8 hours.
One of the reasons he does it is that he isn't always available. Because if he's always available, he's always replying to emails every 3 seconds with a new problem. There's a million problems that need to be solved, right? There's a million things that are always popping up. If you're always doing it, then you can never get anything done with your life, right? So he's never able to capitalize on his day. And I think that's exactly where this tip comes from, which is if you're always available, then always... you're gonna, every 3 seconds, something's gonna pop up and it's gonna take you 2 minutes to do here, 2 minutes to reply to this message, 2 minutes to reply to this email. And all of these little things are gonna accumulate to a very unproductive day. Whereas if you did what you said, which is block off a period, check emails during this time, right? Mm-hmm. Now you have 30 minutes, bam, you pump out all the emails at the exact same time. And then you say, okay, blocked off. Now I'm doing this other work. So you strategize instead of being reactionary to your day. The
only issue with the email ones is there's a lot of things that if you're trying to get a deal or things like that done, or if you only do an email once a day, because I've dealt with like some people with this with work where it literally took me a month to get something done because they only replied to an email once a day at 8:30 in the morning. I'm like, are you kidding me? It took me a straight month to do this thing because they checked the email once a day. I'm like there's obviously points and times where you need to get stuff done. Yeah. So there's no way that the once or twice a day email thing I'm not a biggest fan of. Like, why can't you check it when you're not doing anything actively? Like in between meetings, in between doing this sort of work, doing this other thing.
Oh, you could. Like you could if you have that extra time, but if you're trying to really capitalize on your day and make a real fantastic day, then I don't think you want to leave or if you have periods where something isn't booked, then you maybe want those as relaxing times. You don't want to be checking your email when you're sitting on the toilet. That's personal space.
Well, so are you assuming this day, this isn't a work day then? This is just like a weekend that you're talking about?
Well, I'm talking from the perspective of a student, right? From the perspective of a student, you're not in the office 9 to 5.
Okay, I guess I'm looking at this from an office perspective right now.
If you're working from 9 to 5, you're at work from 9 to 5. It's a different story.
There's no reason you shouldn't be answering emails, right? See that because that's where I've been going with most of this. Is that if you're at school, who cares?
Like if you're a student, you have classes throughout your day, but you also have the liberty to have a part-time job and do other extracurriculars and stuff like that. And if you're doing that, then you want to be careful with how you spend that time, or else the time will disappear from you.
Yeah.
So the next tip that we have is to leverage your resources. So what this means is that a lot of times we have great connections and support systems around us, right? Hopefully we do. If not, build some. But most of the time we have them. Even if we don't particularly pay attention to them, if we do pay attention to them, they do exist there. There's tons of resources out there. There's tons of people who want to support you, who have supported you, and who continue to support you. So leverage those resources, right? You can't win everything by yourself, right?
Yeah.
And if you do win stuff by yourself, you won't be able to win a lot by yourself, right? So it's better to have people that you can rely on, people that you can ask for things, people that you can depend on to get certain things done. And you realize that if you capitalize on those resources, then you yourself can get more accomplished as well. It's a team effort.
Yeah, oftentimes it takes a team, yeah.
Like, what's the one saying? It was from that one Avengers movie where the guy was saying, if you want to carry a piano, it's easier to do with 100 people.
Does not ring a bell.
Anyways, but so the saying, I completely paraphrased and butchered it, but it's that if you're trying to carry a piano, if you're trying to get this task done, it's going to be a tough time for you, bud, if you're doing it by yourself. But if you have 100 people, how easily can you move a piano? Very easily, right? And so, 2 brains is better than 1. That's another good saying, hey?
Yeah, sure.
Right? So leverage your resources to capitalize on them. And the last tip is learn how to differentiate between noise and indication. And this is actually something I was listening to a medical podcast, and this person was saying this is a big difference between people who just entered into the field of medicine, your first-year residents, your early doctors, versus a 20-year attending, some person who's been in the game for so long, is that the doctors who are young, they're running around scrambling, right? Because there's so much stuff to get done. There's everything. Oh my God, this report just came in. Their sugar levels are a little low. This is happening, whatever. Versus if you look at an attending, they're walking all mellow, right? They're completely calm. And the reason is that they can differentiate between noise and things that are truly important. There's a lot of noise in the world. There's a lot of bing, 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 bing. This is somebody tells you this. But are these things important, right? Or is it just static?
Yeah.
Right? And so a good way to think about it is like on a radio, when the radio, most of it is static. But if you just hit that channel just right, at least like on the super old radios, I guess now you can just hit the channel, right? On the super old radios, when you turn the knob and it goes just right, bam, you hit the signal, right? Yeah. You got the right frequency. Now you can listen to it perfectly, crystal clear, you're getting what you want. If it's ever so slightly off, all the static is coming in. Yeah. You don't want that, right? So basically, if you want to leverage your day, get really good at turning the knob, right?
Yeah.
At fine-tuning between what is just noise in my life and what is actually important. Is this hangout with my friend something that I actually particularly want to go to or care about? Or is this just noise, right? Yeah. Do I need to go to this party? Or is that just noise? Is this project that I'm doing actually useful? Or is it just noise, right?
Yeah.
And this is very important. I think I struggle with this a lot.
I was like, oh, where's this going?
But yeah, so.
No, and say just, I struggle with this.
It's very difficult. I think I'm getting a little bit better at it. Differentiating, like, why am I here? What is the purpose behind the thing that I'm doing?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, opportunities will flood you, especially if you capitalize on opportunities in the beginning, then more opportunities keep coming.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to be overloaded and you won't really know what to do, And so if you can't figure out why am I here and why am I doing this, then you're just noise. It's all noise. You're just listening to static. We would be clowns if we were just listening to the radio and just listening to static the entire time. Wouldn't we?
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe someone's into that.
Maybe someone's into that. That's funny. So those are the 7 tips that we have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode of Blurred Summits. If you enjoyed this episode, think of one friend who could benefit from the information that we shared today, and be sure to share this podcast with them. You can catch the full video podcast on YouTube. The full audio podcast is out on all platforms. Be sure to follow us on Instagram for more content. Thank you.